Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Los Angeles, Columbus, Ohio, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
Now, Jimmy, I have a question for you. I'm really curious. You've been off of seed oils for a long time. I'm proud of you. I really am. I did not know that. Congratulations. But did you notice also that when you went in the sun, that you didn't sunburn as much?
Oh, you know what? No, I guess I have. I've been making sure I got sun. I read this article from I don't know if it was your website or Midwestern Doctor talking about how important it is to get sun.
Yeah. And she writes for us.
Okay, so we
publish her articles.
Okay, yeah. So I've been getting a lot of sun every day, at least 20 to 30 minutes of sun a day. Okay,
now it's great. Congratulations. And let me just modify and even improve that routine. So you can get sun like as soon as the sun rises or sets or anywhere in between. And if you the best way to get it, if you're healthy, and by healthy I mean you've been off of seed oils for at least 6 months, is around solar noon. Especially you live in California, right? LA or
yes,
around there?
That's correct.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good latitude. So you can go for at least another month, maybe 6-8 weeks, somewhere in there. And then you'll still get enough radiation to get some benefits. People living higher latitudes and further north, they're out of it, because they're too far north to get any benefit. But the key is to get out at solar noon. In fact, we have an app that we're making that's a solar tracker reminder. So 10 minutes before solar noon to remind, hey, now's the time to get outside with minimal clothing, because the sun really does need to penetrate your skin, and it's much easier to do that if you're not wearing clothes. And that may sound socially inconvenient, and it is unless you're at the beach like I am pretty much every day. There is clothing that you can take that's transparent or invisible to the beneficial rays, so they go right through. And you're socially acceptable.
So what is there's a better time of day to be in the sun?
Yes, it's called solar noon. And why is it solar noon? Because when they sort of bastardized the light cycle, solar noon is not 12 noon in daylight savings times, which we're in right now. So it's an hour later. So solar noon is 1 o'clock p.m. And that changes around Halloween. Maybe even in 2 weeks now. Maybe next week. I don't know when the daylight savings time ends.
So what would be
or it might even go into November. I think it might go into November. It's later now. It used to be Halloween, but I think now it's in November.
So what would be the window?
The window is pretty much an hour on either side of solar noon. And I like to walk for an hour because you want to multitask, right? So go out in solar noon. Don't just sit there and twiddle your thumbs. You got a lot of things to do. You can make phone calls, but you can walk. So sun exposure, I think, is one of the most fundamental ingredients of staying healthy, and most people are not out there. And even if you live in climates where you're going to get this sun exposure, you're working inside, so you don't have the opportunity to get outside. But if you're going to go out, it should be around solar noon. And with daylight savings times, it's about 12:30 to 1:30 would be your window. That's your ideal window, because you're out in the middle of solar noon, which is 1 o'clock. Now, when daylight savings times ends, which I think is the second week of November, then it's 12 o'clock. So it becomes from 11 to 1 or 11:30 to 12:30.
Okay. We were having a fascinating conversation about sun exposure and how important it is, and that all the energy in the world actually comes from the sun. All the energy in your body originates from the sun, and that you have to get, what do you recommend, 20 to 30 minutes a day around solar noon?
Well, the first thing is to not go in direct sun around solar noon unless you've been off vegetable oils for at least, or seed oils. Many people who've not heard of seed oils, if you say seed oils, you're kind of like a veteran, but most people have not heard that before. So the vegetable oils is for the newbies, and it exposes them to this and makes them more broadly acceptable. So unless you've been off of those for at least 6 months, I would not go in solar. Go earlier in the day, like before 9, certainly before 10 or after 3. Then it's okay, because there's but if you've been off the seed oils, then surely close to solar noon would be great. And I think if you've been off for a while, I think you need an hour, because you want to combine that. It's a multitask. You want to combine it with the solar exposure and also movement. Your body needs to move. It's absolutely essential. And the single best exercise in the world is simply walking. It also happens to be the least expensive. You don't need a lot of equipment for it.
So let's stay on the sun for a second. So what is seed oil? What is the connection between seed oil and sunburn? Can you explain it?
Oh, yes. Seed oils are toxic, and by themselves they're not. But once they get into your body, they're toxic because they have double bonds. That's why they're unsaturated. When they're saturated, there are no double bonds, like most of the saturated fats, like butter, ghee, and coconut oil. So this unsaturated fat is highly susceptible to damage. And the damage can be from many varieties. It can be from the sunshine, UV light, which oxidizes that bond and damages it. And it could be heat or pressure or other chemicals. And when they are damaged, they make a toxic byproduct, which is the primary reason why they're so toxic. It's a metabolite, and they have a name for it. It's called oxalam, which is an oxidative linoleic acid metabolite. And that causes damage to your stem cells, your cell membranes. But most importantly, Jimmy, it's one of the primary causes of mitochondrial poisoning, chronic poisoning. The number one cause of death in the country, in the world, Jimmy, is something I call mitoshock. And mito is short for mitochondria. And because all these poisons, they kill your mitochondria, and you don't have enough cellular energy, so you can't initiate the process of repair regeneration. And as many people age, as you know, what happened so well in COVID, it's a primary driver of your immune system. If you don't have the power to run your immune system, it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work.
So can you explain to people, what is mitochondria? What is
mitochondria is a little structure in your cell.
Okay.
And it's responsible for producing 85% of the energy that your body produces. Very energy dense. In fact, there's a Nick Lane is a biochemist in the UK, and he wrote a book called Sex, Suicide, and something, and Energy. I forget the name of it, but Nick Lane. And in that book, he discusses that mitochondria are 10,000 times more energy dense than the sun. Incredible little structures. They are what allow us. They essentially differentiate us from prokaryotes or bacteria. These mitochondria, they give us the energy and the ability to have enormous amounts of energy that is extracted from using oxygen to burn the fuel and create this cellular energy that fuels your entire body and repair and regeneration.
So I think it's called power, sex, suicide.
Power, sex, suicide. Yes, that's it. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I got it mixed up. Yeah.
Yeah. So is it the mitochondria? So inside your cells, there's a thing called mitochondria, and that produces the energy. Would that be also called ATPs, the energy?
Yes, that's the way the energy is transferred and carried around. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so right now, seed oils are like poison to the mitochondria that produce the energy.
They're the not primary poison. And another of the poisons is the one that you initially invited me on your show for, which is the EMF.
Okay,
electromagnetic frequencies.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. So you're telling me that the number one cause of death is the compromising of the mitochondria via seed oils?
Well, seed oils and the other three toxins. Yes, but essentially destruction of the mitochondria, damage and destruction, premature death of the mitochondria due to these mitochondrial poisons. Yes. And Jimmy, what you just said and understand is not known or appreciated by 99.9% of physicians.
Yeah, they don't teach this stuff, right, in medical schools?
No, they don't.
They don't even teach.
And it's by design. That is by design because of the Flexner Report in 1910. That's intentional. Physicians have turned into slaves for the system. And they did not go into it for these. They didn't know what they were getting into. And they almost have no way out. And this whole process that I'm doing, this is the knowledge to share, but we have a whole process, Jimmy, that's going to rescue them, to allow them to use this information to help people understand simple, inexpensive things they can do to restore their health and not have to be held hostage to the medical system.
Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Los Angeles, Columbus, Ohio, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.